It's a well-known trope that Marvel characters in both the films and the comics never seem to truly die. Even when it appears that a character has met their ultimate demise, they almost always seem to come back in one way or another. Some truly die, but eventually return through magic, science, or time travel, and some simply fake their deaths altogether. One character that is particularly talented at fooling both the audience and his fellow characters is Loki. Throughout the MCU, Loki appears to die 3 times. The first 2 turn out to be fake deaths, with the God of Mischief returning to wreak more havoc later on. However, his death in Avengers Infinity War seems to be quite real. Thanos grabs him around the neck and strangles the life out of him before dropping his lifeless corpse at Thor's feet. How could this possibly have been faked? Thanos even says,
"No resurrections this time."
Later in the film, Thor acknowledges his brother's prior history of dying, but states that he thinks this one is real.
Well, he's been dead before. This time I think it really might be true.
The writers of the film clearly want us to believe that Loki has finally met his ultimate end. I, however, don't believe a word of it. In this video, I will explain how Loki, son of Laufey, is almost definitely still alive. And to be clear, I'm not talking about this Loki. I'm talking about this one. For starters, this is Loki we're talking about. Loki who faked his death not once, but twice. So let's take a closer look at the scene in question. Loki produces the Tesseract and holds it in his hand. Then this happens.
And for another, we have a Hulk.
Crucially, as soon as the Hulk comes tearing into the room, all eyes turn toward him. Thanos and his minions, the Black Order, are immediately distracted by this surprising turn of events. And in a quick shot, we see Loki shove Thor out of harm's way, and the Tesseract drops to the ground. This moment occurs at 4 minutes and 15 seconds into the movie. The brawl between Thanos and the Hulk lasts 43 seconds, ending at 4:58. During the fight, Thanos' minions are paying close attention, and both Loki and the Tesseract are nowhere to be seen. My theory is that Loki took full advantage of this distraction to escape. In the moment of chaos, he creates a physical projection of himself, then uses the Tesseract to portal himself off of the ship and into safety. This should be almost expected, given his history of both faking his death and escaping dangerous situations. In Avengers Endgame, during a similar moment of chaos, it takes Loki about 10 seconds to plan and execute his escape from captivity using the Tesseract. I find it very unlikely, given his character, that Loki would just stand there idly, watching Hulk and Thanos brawl, instead of taking his chance to escape the sticky situation using the Tesseract, which was only a few feet away from him. But, you might say, Thanos physically grabbed Loki and squeezed the life out of him. How could that possibly have been staged? Well, I've considered this, and think I found a precedent for what Loki could have done to fake his death in the scene. So let's take a look at one of his other fake death scenes, the one in Thor: The Dark World. Loki stabs his enemy with a sword, then is grabbed and impaled by the same weapon. It doesn't make sense that this is simply a mirage of Loki, since both the monster and Thor touch him. And the sword is clearly real, since the monster feels pain when stabbed by it. It seems clear to me that Loki has an ability to temporarily create a copy of himself that can be physically interacted with. In this scene, he creates just such a copy and allows that to be killed in order to carry out his plan to fake his death and take Odin's throne. If he doesn't have this ability, how could he have survived his encounter here? I came up with this theory long before the Loki series began release on Disney+, but in episode 2, Loki actually admits that he has the ability to create a physical clone of himself. This power is called duplication casting, and the episode takes the time to have Loki give a detailed description of it.
Different powers, although powers generally include shape-shifting, illusion, projection, and my
Duplication
favorite,
casting.
illusion projection.
They're the two completely different powers, actually.
How?
Illusion projection involves depicting a detailed image from outside oneself which is perceptible in the external world, whereas duplication casting entails recreating an exact facsimile of one's own body in its present circumstance, which acts as a true holographic mirror of its molecular structure.
Loki can cast a duplication of himself that is accurate down to his body's molecular structure. He specifies that this is a completely different ability than illusion projection, which Loki frequently uses throughout the MCU. Now, how is it different? Because with duplication casting, the copy of Loki can be physically interacted with. This is illusion projection. This is illusion projection. And so is this. But this must be duplication casting. In episode 5 of the Loki series, we finally see Loki performing this extraordinary power from start to finish. To mask and escape, another variant known as Classic Loki produces duplicates of various Loki variants. At first, it may look like these are simply illusions meant to distract his enemies. However, in a blink and you miss it shot, you can actually see one of these duplicates grab and throw an adversary. This proves that Loki duplicates can be physically touched, and we have now even seen it done to conceal an exit. This is the final piece of the puzzle needed to confirm the possibility of my theory. This must have been how he faked his death in Thor 2, and at least opens the possibility of him doing it again to escape Thanos. But you might say, how could Loki have used the Tesseract to escape? After all, it was still on the ship for Thanos to take. To which I would say there's precedent in the MCU for this as well. It is possible for the Tesseract to beam someone into space while the cube itself remains behind. This happens to Red Skull in the first Captain America film. As you can see, Red Skull was transported by the Space Stone, but the Tesseract did not go with him. It is certainly possible that Loki, who knows so much about the Tesseract, could have utilized this capability to escape without drawing attention to himself. If Loki had portaled away with the Tesseract, he would have been hunted endlessly by Thanos and his minions. While certainly not ideal for Loki, leaving the Tesseract behind was crucial to saving his life. And so, to sum it all up, Loki took advantage of the substantial distraction caused by the Hulk to make his escape from the ship. While everyone's eyes are turned toward the brawl, Loki uses the Tesseract to portal away, while leaving the cube behind. Prior to leaving, he creates a temporary physical copy of himself that would mask his exit and die in his place. This copy would make a clearly fruitless attempt to kill Thanos, a Titan, with a small dagger, ensuring that Thanos would kill the copy, and hence believe Loki to be dead. The real Loki, meanwhile, could hide out in a dark corner of the galaxy, waiting out the events of Infinity War and Endgame. And here's the kicker. In MCU canon, we know that at least one Loki variant does almost this exact thing. In episode 5, Classic Loki describes his escape from Thanos.
In my timeline, everything proceeded correctly my entire life until Thanos attacked our ship.
So you didn't try to stab him?
Certainly not. Take no offense, my friends, but blades are worthless in the face of a Loki sorcery. I cast a projection of myself, so real, even the mad Titan believed it, then hid as inanimate debris. After I faked my death, I simply drifted in space.
This is further proof that Loki could escape from Thanos. Since Loki shares similar traits, and since classic Loki's story is so similar to main Loki's, this revelation is evidence that our own Loki made the same choice. During the scene, Loki tells Thor,
I assure you, brother, the sun will shine on us again.
I believe his plan was solidified at this point, and this statement was a hint to Thor that this is not the end. Perhaps in Thor 4, the real, redeemed Loki can return to his brother, and the sun can indeed shine on the pair once more. So what do you think? Is my theory at least plausible? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.